Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my bathroom. Today we are starting a very special video that I've been planning for a while. We are going to be testing out 4 different self-tanners because spring is officially here. We're about to be in summer and I have a trip to Savannah, Georgia over Memorial Day, and I think I want to tan, but I definitely had mixed experiences with self-tanners in the past, and I am a very, very pale person, so I wanted to test some things out, and I wanted to take you guys along with me. So the idea is that I will be trying all 4 at the same time, and I will be sacrificing my dignity in order to do so. I'm going to be testing out 1 self-tanner here, 1 here, and on the other arm 1 here, and 1 here. So they'll be on my arms, all 4 of them, which I feel like is a good way to even the score a little bit, since they're all going to be on the same part of my body, same level of exposure to the elements, they get washed the same way. So I think this is a good way to test it all at the same time, because they'll also have gone through the same things with me. They'll have gone to the gym at the same frequency. They'll have been exposed to sunlight if I decide to go to the pool. Rather than testing 1 self-tanner on my whole body at a time, I figured testing 4 on my arms at the same time. I don't know, we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna take you guys along with me, and we're gonna do check-ins along the way. So today is Monday, April 12th. And so I'm about to take a shower. I'm going to exfoliate. I've got my body exfoliator from Ulta. I'm gonna exfoliate, prep the skin, and then we're going to self-tan. So I have the first self-tanner, which is the Bali Body 1 Hour Express. This is the dark streak free. I wish they had something that wasn't dark, because I feel like dark can sometimes look really weird on me, but they didn't have it at Ulta, so we're gonna try this one. The next one is the Loving Tan 2 Hour Express. This is in shade medium. This is the Deluxe Bronzing Mousse. I have used this one before, but it did not go well, so I am a little nervous to try it again. We'll see. This was my go-to over the last couple of years. This is the Ulta Beauty Bronze Glow Self-Tanning Ultra Dark Express Tan Tinted Mousse. I like this one. I think it's a great price point. I think it's also a great product. I thought that it performed better than the Loving Tan, but we're gonna try it out side by side and see if that's the case. And then finally, I also picked up this kit. This is the Self-Tan Express kit from Santropay. So we are going to try this one as well. And this is the 1 Hour Tan formula. All right, I have all of my tanners. You guys know the game. I'm gonna go shower and then we're going to apply. All right, everyone, I am showered, I am exfoliated, I have my skincare on, and I am ready to try out these self-tanners. Out of the bunch, I've got 2 mousses that are like the pump style, and I have 2 that are the aerosol style. I have tried a couple of these before. I mentioned earlier, I really like the Ulta one. That's the one that I've used for quite a while. The Loving Tan one, I really liked how it looked, but I wore it on a hot summer day in a white dress and I sweated it off all over the white dress. Even though I had waited, I'd worn it overnight, I had showered, it had been like 24 hours. It still somehow got all over my white dress, so I'm not really a fan of the Loving Tan, but I'm willing to try it again. Maybe it was just, I don't know, I was a victim of circumstance, I have no idea, but I've never actually tried either of these 2 brands. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the mousses on one arm and the aerosol mousses on the other. The Santropay kit came with this cute little mitt, so I'm gonna use this on the aerosols and just use 1 on each side. And then on the other, I got this Ulta glove, which is actually machine washable, and it's a little velvet. So again, I'll use this with the Ulta brand and the mousses and use 1 on each side. All right. Let's get to applying. All right, so I think I'm gonna do the Loving Tan first. I'm gonna do my left arm as the mousse arm. And I'm just gonna take the Loving Tan. Are you supposed to shake it? I didn't say to, but I did buy it last year. So I am going to spray it onto the mitt. And I'm just gonna do like half a squeeze since I'm only doing half of my arm. And I think I'm gonna do the upper part of my arm. another thing I didn't like about the Loving Tan is I felt like I needed more of it for some reason than I did with like the Ulta brand. It smells nice though, it smells like chocolatey. And it goes on really smooth, goes on really well. Super not streaky. It's got a very light sheen to it, so if I wanted to just jump out and go right now, I could and it wouldn't look too weird. And it is the 2-hour express, but I am going to sleep in these tonight because I just prefer to sleep in them. I think they just work better that way. And I'm just realizing that this has a thumb, so I can't use my right hand on the other side, so I'm just gonna use the same side, but I think it'll be fine. And this is the Ulta. This is the Bronze Glow Ultra Dark Express Tan Tinted Mousse. And I'm just gonna spray, squirt like half a pump. Now I didn't avoid my elbows, so that's probably gonna end up looking weird, but this is for science, guys. This isn't like to look beautiful or anything. This is just strictly for science. A little bit darker. I don't know if you can tell on camera, it's a little bit darker than the other one, but they blend in pretty well. I think that the Ulta one looks a little bit cooler toned as well. All right, so we are applied. There we go. I hope I did this right. I'm also not doing it in front of a mirror. I'm just using my viewfinder. So the point of this is not to get it perfect, but just to do a wear test over the next week or so and see how these all play out. Okay, so on my right arm, I'm gonna be using the Santropay mitt. Since I'm using the Santropay mitt, let's go ahead and use the Santropay Spray. And this is the mini that comes in the kit. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't have to buy the whole thing because it is quite expensive. I'm just going to start with, there we go, like half a squirt. Ooh, the scent is really nice. I actually really like the way that smells. It doesn't smell like tanner at all. It smells fresh and floral and a little beachy, but it's not too like annoyingly coconut. All right, that is applied and on. You can't even really see it, honestly. I feel like these two I'm already looking way tan. But this one, I don't think you can tell at all that it's on. And this is also Self Tan Express 1-hour tan. So I'm sure while I'm standing here, it'll start to darken up pretty quickly. And using the other side of the mitt, because it doesn't have a thumb, I'm gonna use the Bali Body 1-hour express. And this was very low priced. It was kind of in that mid-range. It wasn't as expensive as like the Santropay or the Loving Tan, but it wasn't as cheap as the Ulta brand. And this one is the true aerosol one. I thought that the Santropay was an aerosol, but it is a pump mousse. So I was wrong about that. But here we are. This is all for science. All right, directions. For an even streak-free tan, exfoliate. We did that. Moisturize any dry areas. Shake well. This one you have to shake. Sweeping motions. Skin can be washed after 1 hour with warm water, pat dry. So these are all express tanners, but I am going to sleep in them. Oh my gosh. I just did the tiniest little bit and so much came out. I barely touched this. Let's go ahead and apply it to my forearm, and that goes on super dark. They were not kidding that this is ultra dark. I don't love the smell. It's fine. The smell is just fine. It's not great. It smells a little clinical. Yeah, but it's still fresh and a little floral. All right, that is our self tanner applied. What do we think so far? I'm gonna stand back here and compare all my arm space for you guys. Remember, this is the Bali Body. Oh, and it's super soft. My skin feels super soft and conditioned. This is the Bali Body. This is the Santropay. This is the Loving Tan, and this is the Ulta brand. So here we are. This is after just a little bit of time having it on. These are all 1 or 2 hour express tans. So they should really start to develop before I go to bed. Right now it's about 10:30 at night. I'm gonna go to bed probably around midnight or so. So we'll see how this looks before I go to bed, and then we'll see how it looks when I wake up and it's fully developed. I'm gonna rinse it off in the morning, and then we're just gonna see how these different tanners look over the next few days. So stay tuned. For you, it'll just be a couple seconds, but I we'll see you tomorrow. Hey guys, okay, so I am back. It is the next day. I have showered off the self tanner and I've gotten ready for work. Now, as a reminder, I only put it on my arms. My face and my body are not tan. My hands are not tan. And if you were watching this video, you probably saw that I wasn't exactly super careful with how I was spreading it around. I was trying to be accurate. I was trying to get it all over the arms so that it would at least look a little bit normal, even though my arms are now definitely a different color from the rest of my body. But I clearly missed some spots. Like, I did quite a bang up job. And to be fair, I did it just looking in the viewfinder of my camera. I didn't do it in front of a mirror, which is probably why I ended up with like things like this, where I just have this giant patch around my elbow. If I had been doing it in front of a mirror, I probably would have seen that. But I also feel like, you know, when I was spreading it around, like, no, I can't really see that side of my body just by doing that. But I feel like I would have, or I feel like I should have been able to see it in the viewfinder. So I don't know if that plays into this, but essentially what I'm looking for when I'm doing these check-ins, I'm looking for how does the color look with my skin tone? Does it look nice? Does it look even? What is the wear? So how is it wearing out or how is it not wearing out? And how long does it last? We're gonna find out, and we've got 4 different ones to keep track of. They were applied at the same time to the same kind of limb of my body, so I feel like, again, this is science at work. And we're just gonna do our first check-in right now. So over on this arm, up here, I had the Loving Tan Mousse, and then on my forearm, I had the Ulta Tanning Mousse. Up here, I had the Santropay Mousse, and on my forearm on this arm, I had the Bali Body Marisol Mousse. So if you are looking at my body in the viewfinder, if you're just looking at my arms like this, you can definitely see the difference between my hands and my body. There's definitely a tan going here. There's a very big difference in the shade. So we can see it worked. I am tan. You can also see that I definitely missed some spots. I didn't do as good of a job on my right arm because it looks like I also missed my underarm here, and then I definitely wasn't careful around my armpits. But getting a good, like, nice looking tan is not the point of this experiment. It's just to see which one would last the longest, which one would wear off the best, and which one is gonna look the best with my extremely, extremely fair Scottish skin. So what do we think? The Ulta one, I've always really liked this one. I've had a good experience. I feel like it's worn well in the past. So we'll see how it continues to wear off. The Loving Tan one was the one that I sweated off all over a white dress. So we're gonna see how that works out. But overall, I think that the tones are both pretty good. I think that the Loving Tan, I like the tones slightly better. I do have some pigmentation in my arm right here. I'm naturally very red in this section of my arms. So when I'm looking at the tone, I'm not looking here. I'm looking more on my shoulder and in this area because it's close here. I feel like it's a little bit more bronzy. It's a little bit more warm, while the Ulta one is a little bit more of a cooler, like, it's a little bit of a cooler tone. But I still really, I like them both. They're very, very similar. So if I'm looking in the mirror, my forearm does look slightly darker. It does look slightly cooler toned, but they, for all intents and purposes, look very, very similar. I think that the Loving Tan is slightly richer. I think that there's, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I think that the shade is a little bit richer and a little bit more bronzy, whereas this is more of a cool tone tan. So we'll test that out, see how it goes, see how it wears. Stay tuned. And on this arm, you can see there is a major difference. Again, ignoring the pigmentation that I have naturally in my arm, like I've just Even when I was a kid, no matter what size I've been, no matter where I've lived, I've always had this really bad pigmentation here. So let's look in this area more. There's a stark difference, and you can also see my natural skin tone right here. The Bali Body is by far the darkest of all the self-tans. Like, this is just dark, dark, dark. But this is also labeled as super dark versus the other ones, which were either dark or medium. So this is also just like testing out which tone I liked. But the Bali Body, the mousse, they didn't have any other tone except for super dark at Ulta. So that's what we got. It is very dark. I honestly don't hate it. It might be a little too dark for me, and I am concerned about what it will look like as it wears off, because I feel like the super dark ones end up kind of looking speckly, but I'm very freckled as well, so they tend to also blend in with my freckles as they wear off. So we'll see. I am almost worried, you know, if I had tanned my hands, this would look a lot better, but because you wash your hands so much, because they rub up against things so much, there's always a difference, and it wears off the hands first. And because it's such a stark difference, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, same problem here, right? But that's still a closer tone than on this side. And this is the Santropay. So the Santropay is actually the one that I think I'm the least impressed by. It definitely looks very natural. I think out of all four, like if I'm standing back and you're looking at all four, I think that the Santropay looks the most natural. It's not the darkest. It's probably the lightest. Like if I'm looking at my shoulders, like if I look at between my shoulders, this one is definitely the lightest. Definitely didn't go on very evenly, and it's the most patchy in terms of application. I wasn't being super careful, but more or less I feel like I was getting the whole arm. And if I'm looking here, and I hope it's showing on camera, it's just not looking quite even. It's looking a little patchy, it's looking a little streaky. So it's something to keep in mind that the Santropay formula just may be a little bit harder to work with. And when I was applying it, it was also a little bit harder to see on the arm. I just wasn't seeing it as much as I was seeing the other products that I was putting on. And that can play a major role in how evenly your self-tan comes out. Because if you're applying it and you can see it on the skin and you can see how even it is or where you might have missed areas, you're more likely to catch it and fix it before it's too late. So I am concerned about that, but we're gonna see how it goes. We're gonna see how it wears. So far, I think my least favorite is the Santropay. This is only day one though, so we are gonna see how these wear throughout the week until I get totally sick of it and feel like I have to slough it off. All right, that's it for today, guys. I'm gonna be checking in with you later this week. Hey guys, welcome back. I am checking in. It has been about 5 days. It is Sunday. I actually just filmed my Monday video, and I've changed back into my Los Angeles tank top so that I can show you progress on the self-tan now that it's been a few days. And okay, we're in the same spot, same outfit. You guys can see my arms and the progress here, and I think honestly it's kind of difficult at this point to tell that I'm wearing self-tanner beyond the difference with my hand. So I feel like this arm has still maintained a lot of the tan. This is Ulta and this is the Loving Tan, and I feel like both of them are much darker and more tan looking than the two on this arm. This is the Bali Body and this is the Santropay. What's interesting is that the Bali Body was the darkest of the self-tanners that I tried. It was ultra dark and it has faded the fastest. I feel like it's basically non-existent anymore. I really can't tell if it's on my skin. Up here, the Santropay, it's still there, and you can see like the patch on my elbow. You can still see some of the tan, but I just feel like it's really faded, and it's faded well. If you look, there's not really a line. It doesn't look too patchy. It doesn't look inconsistent, but they did fade pretty quickly, We're talking about 5 days of wear. Maybe I have unreasonable expectations of my tanners, but I would have expected them to last longer than this. I haven't been scrubbing with a loofah. I haven't been doing anything crazy with my skin. I have showered, I have washed my body with soap, but that's about it. I haven't really done anything too extreme. Today I did wear sunscreen and bug spray while I was working in the garden, but that's about it. And overall, I mean, they've all faded very nicely. I don't see any patchiness over here. Seems to have faded pretty nicely. The Ulta one, this is the cheapest one. It seems to have the best longevity so far. You can still see the clear difference between my hand and my arm. It's still very dark. I would say the Loving Tan is the second darkest still. It still has really great longevity. You can see kind of the back of my arm. You can see the difference here. But in terms of wear time, the Bali Body, like, absolutely not. I think within, like, by day 3 or 4, it was pretty much gone. The Santropay, I can't really tell if it's there anymore, but it has faded really nicely. It doesn't look really weird or patchy or speckly. The Ulta is still going strong, so we're gonna keep doing check-ins. I'll probably check in another day or two to just see if it's continuing to stay on, if it's fading. And then the Loving Tan is still looking really nice. I'm still really liking it. You can see where I missed in application right here because I wasn't being super careful around my armpit. So you can still see the difference in the skin tone there. And over the next couple days, we'll see how these continue to fade and how they continue to look as time goes on. But overall, I would say that at Bali Body, I am really disappointed in how quickly this faded, honestly, especially for it being the darkest in tone. It's like basically not there. And I'm disappointed in the Santropay. Like, I mean, can you see it? I can't. All right, guys. I will check back in with you and then we will do our final review at the end of this video. So I will see you again soon. Hey guys, I am back and it is Tuesday, April 20th. I'm doing a check-in on my self-tan test. So it has been a little over a week since I applied my self-tan and honestly, I mean, we're basically completely gone. The self-tan has pretty much worn off at this point. If I take off my watch and show you the difference in my skin, like, you guys remember the difference here. I mean, it's basically gone at this point. So I figured I would sit down, do this check-in, and give you my final review on these 4 self-tanning products. So if you recall, I tested the Ulta self-tanner, the Loving Tan, the Santropay, and the Bali Body. So I tested 4 self-tan products on my arms. And my final review is none of these lasted an entire week on my skin. They were more or less gone within about 4 or 5 days. I did give it an extra couple of days to see if I could notice any other difference. I have very freckled skin, so sometimes when the self-tanner starts to come off, it blends in nicely with my freckles, so I can't always tell. So that's why I've pressed this test to be longer so that I could really compare over a full week's time. And I do think that there is still some self-tanner left, especially on this arm. And you can see here on my arm, there is a little bit of a white patch, and you can see that this looks yellower and darker. There is still self-tan there, but it is very light, and you really can't see the difference between my shoulder and my body anymore. With that said, I mean, the self-tan, it's pretty much gone. There is redness in my skin, but that's just natural. That's just pigmentation that I have in my arms. In terms of length of wear, I felt like the Ulta and the Loving Tan lasted the longest. Those 2 products really seemed to keep their richness and keep their color for longer. The Bali Body faded the fastest, but it did have the deepest, most rich tone out of any of the self-tanners that I used. The least rich in tone, the thing that I think gave me the least amount of tan, was the Santropay. That could be because of the shade that I chose, but overall I felt like the Santropay was the most, like, quote unquote mild, and it faded, I think, the second fastest. This arm in particular, I felt like it lost its tan so fast. And you guys can remember the giant white patch I had on my elbow, which you can still kind of see here because there's some tan left right here. But overall, I mean, my arm is back to normal, and it was back to normal way quicker than the other two. So if you're looking for longevity, I would not go with Santropay or with the Bali Body. In terms of the application experience, I actually really liked the Bali Body experience. I also really liked the smell of the Santropay. They all had a pretty decent scent. I would say scent on the Ulta brand was the least favorable, but the other three brands had a nice scent to them. The Loving Tan it's fine. It doesn't really smell like anything to me. The Bali Body and the Santropay had a nice kind of scent to it. So in terms of scent, if that's something that's important to you, obviously that doesn't last. Once you rinse it off, that goes away. In terms of application experience, I felt like the Santropay, for whatever reason, it was a lot harder for me to get an even coat. As you saw, I missed a lot of spots on my arm when I was applying it because I think it just wasn't as easy to see, and having very freckled, very pigmented skin is a part of that. That's something that's important to me. I want to be able to see where I'm applying the product. The Bali Body, super easy to see where I was applying it. Same with the Loving Tan and the Ulta brand. Very easy to see. Santropay, I feel like your likelihood of a streaky application is much more increased just because it's not as easy to see where you're applying it. In terms of dry down, they all dried down pretty much at the same rate. They're all that foamy texture, so I didn't feel like one stayed more wet longer than any of the others. And then one thing that I was looking for was kind of this sweat off factor. I have gone to the gym several different times, but while wearing my self-tan, and I didn't see any of the self-tan rubbing off of my clothes, sweating off of my clothes. That is an experience that I've had in the past with the Loving Tan specifically. I feel like I still want to do more testing around that, but because I didn't feel like I worked up a super sweat, but I definitely worked out, lived my life, I went gardening, and I felt like all of them had their staying power and didn't come off on my clothing at any point in time. And now I'll share my overall thoughts, and I'm gonna rank them and tell you my favorites. So if you are looking for a budget self-tanner, absolutely get the Ulta. It was fantastic. It's a good price. You get a lot of product. And I mean, it's really hard to tell the difference between that and some of these more expensive brands. If you look at the video, it's really hard to tell the difference between Ulta and the others, and Ulta had a great staying power. So would really recommend that on the price point and the quality. I would say the one that I would recommend the least, probably the Santropay, honestly, mainly because it's so expensive and it didn't really last and the application wasn't great. Like, nothing about that experience was worth the money, in my opinion. I feel like I got a better experience from some of the lower priced products. If you're looking for a very, very dark tan, I would go with the Bali Body. I got a very, very dark, rich, cooler toned tan out of that. It didn't last as long, but that one was definitely in tone. Really, really nice. And if you're not as pale as me, it's probably a good option. The Loving Tan, I really liked how that looked on my skin. It is a little bit more on the expensive side, but I really, really liked it. The application was great. It was streak free. I felt like that was such a good, solid, quality tanner. And to force rank them, honestly, it's Ulta is my number 1, Loving Tan is my number 2, Bali Body number 3, and Santropay is number 4, just based on my experience. And ultimately, I'll leave it up to you. What are your thoughts? It really honestly depends on whether or not you care about how much money you're spending on tanning. I personally do. I don't want to spend a lot of money, but it's also important to me that I have a product that I can trust and I can go on vacation, not sweat the product off, not have it come off of my clothes, not have it look patchy, and I want it to last. That is really important to me as well because self-tanning is a pain in the ass. It is awful. It sucks to go through all of that. It's just kind of an uncomfortable experience to put on self-tanner, to sleep in it, to make sure that you don't sweat, to make sure you get it even. So the longer a tan can last, the better. That's what I rated it on. I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments if you've tried any of these self-tanners and see what you think. Let me know, and if you liked this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. I am back here on my channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern with a brand new video. So if that sounds like your thing, come and join the Unfiltered fam. We'd love to have you. And don't forget to say hello down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for being here. It means so much to me that you would spend your time watching my videos. I hope to see you here again soon, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.